Teddy Bear here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing, well, I would say a long overdue VR to Julie over at Peekaboo Rose, but she did recently resurrect her very own tag because she wanted to see how her tastes had changed or not, and I thought, this is a perfect time to jump on this because I did write it down in my planner as one of my ideas of tags to do. I think it was back in either the end of 2020, maybe sometime in 2021. I can't remember when Julie originally did it. Hang on, let me just check. So I just checked the date on Julie's original video, and it was September 2020. So we're knocking on nearly 4 years. So almost 4 years ago, I endeavoured to maybe do a VR, but I wasn't really making videos around that time. I was really struggling, and my channel was sort of quite dormant. And so I wrote it down, put it in my planner, and thought, well, when I do start making videos more regularly again, I'll get to it. But then obviously sort of it becomes so long that you're like, I mean, I always say when I do tags, like when I've created tags, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like if it's a timeless tag, it doesn't matter if you do it, 2 years after it was created or 2 days after it was created. It's a good tag is a good tag. But I hadn't looked at my list of tags I'd like to do for a really long time, and then Julie did this sort of revisited version of the tag, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to jump on it now, so I'm going to do it because it's a good one. And obviously you'll see from the title that it is Deck Deterrents and Deck Delights, and I realised I've just been talking at you with a boring blank thingy-majig. What do you call it? Background, cloth, whatever. It's just a scrap of fabric. I've got my iced coffee. It's a raspberry iced coffee. It's got like raspberry syrup in it. It's so good. Yum yum yum. So that's keeping my whistle wetted. And I'm just going to jump in with what my deck delights and deterrents are. So yeah, I'm going to obviously start with the things that delight me with tarot decks or oracle decks, just decks in general. And the first thing, and one that I bang on about all the time to the point where people tell me not to, but fuck you, it's my channel. You don't like it, don't watch, is diversity and inclusion. And two really good examples of that would be this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. This is the mass market version, which I do actually prefer to the original indie version. I do wish the cardstock was less thick and chunky because it does make it difficult for me to riffle shuffle, but riffle shuffle it I do, as you can see from the lovely slight bow going on there, the riffle shuffler's bow. But this is a really good example of it's quite contemporary in its depictions here. Obviously you've got a knight on a bicycle, and they've got like a bicycle helmet on and what looks to be checkered vans. We have a star card that appears to have double mastectomy scars. This is probably one of my least favourite card in the deck because I find it skews too much one way. This is one of my favourite death cards of all time, where we're featuring several generations of a family, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful depiction. We have an emperor that has breasts, so this is likely a trans man, and Charlie is trans non-binary themselves. And it just really comes across. I really enjoy. There's some really interesting deviations from original Smith-Waite imagery. There's a lot of contemporary. And I know contemporary decks are not for everyone. I don't mind. I have contemporary decks. I have recreations of vintage, historical decks rather. I like it all. I like it very much, like how I like my music and even my art. I'm a really mixed, and even my movies. I say I skew mostly sort of horror and creepy stuff, but you can get comedy horror, you can get romantic horror, you can get, if anyone watched that movie's genre video that I did, the VR meow meow meow, oh my goodness, my brain is blanking, oh my god, I cannot even remember the name. Lucid Moon. Lucid Moons, is that the channel? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. The brain fog strikes. It's a genuine issue I have. I know I make fun of it, but really it is kind of concerning. But yeah, this deck is wonderfully diverse and inclusive, and I enjoy the contemporary nods or contemporary depictions. I enjoy that we have people of all ages, of all abilities, of all colours, of all sizes. Like, it's a real, like, it's just great. And it's a really good reader for me, and one that I pick up very, very often. It's one of my go-tos, I would say, almost as soon as it came into my collection. Very kindly gifted to me from Sandra over at Spirit of Avalon, who is a lovely human being. Very kindly sent this to me as a surprise, and surprised I was. And yeah, it became an instant fave, and it's remained so. So yeah, inclusivity and diversity, the depiction especially of like marginalized, oppressed and sort of ignored demographics, and so the Next World Tarot by Christy C. Rhode. This is the original indie version, so it's the glossy cardstock. I keep saying I need to pick up the mass market large size because it's not so shiny. But this, again, this is I would say goes even further in its sort of radical depiction of a next world, what comes next after you know, everything falls apart. You know, we need to have new ways of living and being and interacting, building community, and this deck speaks to that, and it is incredibly inclusive and far-reaching in its vision. It's also got joy and hope and playfulness, but there's also sort of righteous anger, and there's also compassion. It's a beautiful video. It's a beautiful deck, and the book is really good as well, because it's not just your sort of everyday Smith-Waite interpretations. You're getting, you know, it's written by Christy, and so it's getting Christie's perspective on why this art, like, it's been depicted in this way, and it's very sort of radical, and I really love it. So this is just another one. The lovers in this deck is one of my all-time fave lovers cards. It really hits me every time. I really, you know, it's a beautiful deck. There's so many. Oh, it's just I love it. So yeah, so that's the one of my first delights. It just really makes me excited, especially when I see like my you know, my family, my friends, my community that I see around me in a deck, and people, you know, giving readings to people and them going, oh my goodness, you know, that looks like me. Like it, and you know, some people say they don't need to see themselves, but representation is so important. Okay. So next thing that delights me, cuteness. I love me some cuteness, and it's going to surprise no one who knows my channel that the next deck coming up is the Tarot of the Magical Forest. This deck gives me severe cute aggression. I cannot even. And I know it's not for everyone, but it is most definitely for me. I know these little characters, these little guys, so well. They have been with me for almost a decade. This isn't the oldest deck I have. I have, you know, my oldest deck is, ooh, upside down, the Bondage Poodles, as I like to call them. Is my Osho Zen, which I've had for over 25 years, which when I say it out loud makes me go, wow, where has that time gone? But this is getting up there with one of the decks, especially the decks that I've used the most in the last 10 years. This is definitely up there, which you can tell by the absolute state of the cardstock when you see it. Doesn't really show up on camera as well. You can kind of see it, but it's like scratched and scuffed, and there's dents in it, and like it's got like patches of, I don't even know what the hell on it. There's one of my own hairs. Meow. But other cute decks, I mean, I have a whole bunch, but I'm just gonna try and show a couple for each thing that delights me. Is the Kitten Chops Tarot, the Playful Heart Tarot by Kitten Chops. It's so cute. It's so cute. Another one that gives me cute aggression. And then I will say I like cute but not saccharine. So what I mean by that is it can be cute, but it's not cloying, in the sense that the decks that I find cute also will tackle the darker stuff. They don't sort of shy away and rename things or redraw things in a way that bypasses the gnarlier sides of life. I think that that's very important, and this deck, as cute as it is, really does still speak to that. So this is a really good example with the Three of Swords. It's still very, there's pain there, and then we've got happiness and joy, these little folks flying through the air. But there's definitely like darker. Let's find one of the cards that's a bit more shadowy, that speaks to meow meow. So the Tower, not the most hard-hitting tower, but it does look like they're holding money, which is very sort of yes, capitalism will cause our downfall, is causing our downfall. Where are you? There's some prime examples, and of course I'm not getting them coming up. Bloody hell. Blimmin' typical, isn't it? Bloody typical. Okay, I'm going to pause and find it. Okay, here are two, I found them, two of my favourite cards when it comes to sort of tackling the sort of gnarlier stuff, and it's the 8 and the 9 of Swords. So same suit. Really, I should do that. Where, you know, this person looks absolutely just, oh, they're utterly undone. And then this person is incredibly, this little character is incredibly frightened, and, you know, it speaks to all the 9 of Swords in a Smith-Waite would speak to, and I really enjoy that. So it's cute, but it's not cloying. This one does border cloying, but it sort of just skims through by like having some of the gnarlier cards still be gnarly. Okay, other things that absolutely delight me. I love me some creepy decks, realizing I don't have as many creepy decks as you'd think for me. If you know me, if you know, you know, I like spooky stuff. So I do need to work on that. But I love me dark humour, creepy humour in decks. So I love me a spooky deck. But if it is like spooky and creepy, but in a funny way, that's even more. So one of the examples that I have straight off the bat is like the Zombie Tarot is quite funny and tongue-in-cheek in some ways, and also very hard-hitting in others. But I wanted to show a couple of Oracle decks. The first one I'm going to show you is this absolute behemoth, and it is the Arcane Bullshit by Evan Doherty. This deck is very silly and irreverent, but there's also quite a lot of dark humour in it. It definitely, like, there's a lot of nonsense, funny nonsense, but it definitely speaks to, you know, some dark aspects of life. Future Grandma, I don't know. Instinct, are these all upside down? This deck just always gets turned about because I just, yeah, the beefcake. There's just something like a little unnerving about this deck, and I just really, the anthropomorphic character, I mean, it's the digging ghost. It's so bizarre. Golden Retriever, I mean, that's quite dark. Everything's fine. I mean, this speaks to a lot of what's going on at the moment around the world with, you know, wars and genocide and the climate collapse, and everything is going on, everything is going down. Robo Dodo, I mean, the dodo's extinct. So yeah, it's darkly funny. The woman breastfeeding a VCR, I don't know either, but I kind of love it. And then another one that's a bit more sort of like classically darkly funny, comes from our old mate Patrick Valenza, who will always provide the dark funnies, and this is the Oracle of Black Enchantment. This is the original edition. It just, I mean, I love that it's based on, you know, traditional etchings of the, you know, and I was so lucky to see some of the original etchings like this at an exhibition in January at the Welcome Collection. It was just, oh, it was so cool to see genuine ones, the original copies, and they were like hundreds and hundreds of years old. But this is just, Patrick Valenza's decks just tickle me anyway. I mean, I still want his, he's got that Zama Twins Oracle. Is it Zama Twins? Just looks so irreverent and fun. I'm so excited. I've been saying for years we need the Deviant Moon in a pocket tinned version. It's happening. It better be in a tin. It better be in a tin. If it's just going to be in a tuck box, I mean, I'll make a pouch for it, so whatever. But I'm obviously going to buy it because it's the Dev. I've been saying for literally since I bought that deck, how cool would it be in a pocket size? Because I'm hoping it would be, if it's in a tin, it would be a weird sized tin, like the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit and Wild Unknown Tarot. Like, they're small but they're quite deep and chunky because of the way that they've put the book in as well. They're not like your US games in a tin standard, and because of the way that the Deviant Moon is sort of, it's a bit longer and a bit thinner than sort of other US games decks, I'm hoping that they're not going to sort of do a weird thing and make it more like their standard tin decks. I hope they're going to keep the proportions, but scale it down, you know. You know what I mean. You know what I mean, Jolly Bean. But yeah, this deck is just, it just tickles me. It just tickles me. It's so much fun. It does skew very dark and very negative for the most part. Even like the positive meanings in the guidebook, you know, are a little gnarly. But you don't have to read the guidebook. You can just take what you want from these hilarious images. So yeah, I love me a bit of dark humour, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Another thing that I love, surprising no one after I just went on about a pocket Deviant Moon, is small, wee, tiny, little cute small decks. I do love the US games tinned decks. My favorite probably being the Morgan Greer in a tin. Absolutely love that. Absolute staple for me. And the aforementioned sort of Wild Unknown, the like sort of chunky little tin deck. Oh god, the tins themselves just make weird, but they don't small. They just the deck just being small makes me happy. It doesn't have to come in a tin. This is the Squid Cake Marseille. It does not come in a tin. This is the original indie version, but I do also have the mass market version. The mass market version comes in a 2-part box, and you know, with the little, and it's kind of similar for the indie version, but not quite. I just love small decks, and part of that is because I just like small things. Small things are cuter because they're small, and also because I have small hands, and sometimes I really struggle with, you know, the size of the deck or the cardstock, or, you know, and sometimes I have issues with pain in my hands. So then that adds like a whole extra dimension of making decks harder to handle. So having smaller ones, you know, like my Magical Forest has been trimmed down, so that makes it more manageable, even though it was fairly standard. That's why I like Fournier decks as well, because Fournier decks are naturally, you know what I mean, are by, you know, they're regular size, their standard size is smaller than most, and I really enjoy the size. And I've actually got a couple of trimmed Fournier decks, which obviously makes them even more wee. Another small deck, as I've spoken about it already, is the Wild Unknown. This is the Animal Spirit Oracle, and I don't have the standard size of this. I bought the pocket version because I wasn't sure if I would like this deck, but I'd heard good things about it, and I do like Kim Kranz's artwork, and ultimately I bloody love it. I really love it. So much so that I wouldn't say no to having, you know, the standard size, but I just use this one. And on saying that, I also bought the pocket version of the Wild Unknown Tarot, and I use that more than the standard version. It's like the standard version I have is the original indie version as well. So I've sort of gotten a more of a hang of the slight changes, like card changes or color changes in the pocket one. But yeah, I just, and the cardstock's really nice on these. It does bow, but I don't care. The guidebook is so like small and chunky, the tin, just everything. Oh, I just want to, gives me such cute aggression. So I love small decks. Another delight, lickable colours. I had synesthesia. Colours taste like things, and it's like people say, is it like everything you look at make you hungry or make you think of food? Weirdly, no. It's like it's sort of triggered often by certain colours or combinations of colours. So when I say that like a deck like this just tastes really good, like just even looking at it now, it's so, brains are so weird. My mouth is watering, right? That's what I mean. because it's making me think of like a big bag of like gummy sweets, vegan gummy sweets, I might add. And I can just like, even like, I can just taste the flavors of the gummy sweets when I look at this. But it doesn't always have to be bright colors. It can be like muted tones. It could be, it's not always something as sunny and bright as this. And it's just, it's strange. It's really funny because I was a hair and makeup artist for almost a decade, and when I would talk through what I was doing, like with the clients eyeshadow, for example, I'd be saying, I'm just gonna like put in a little bit of this like salted caramel color here into your, you know, your crease, and then we're just gonna like darken it here with this like rich chocolate color. And they'd be like, oh, these names of these eyeshadows, they're such delicious sounding names of these colors. And they weren't the names of the eyeshadow that they'd been given. It was just me describing colors as food. And it's because I think because of the synesthesia, so I would often describe makeup colors in things that aren't edible. Even with like lipstick, like different berry shades of lipstick. My mouth's watering. Brains. Another lovely lickable color deck. Oh, sorry, did I say Zeke's Arcana, right? So lickable, I can taste, like I taste it. Another deck that is more muted but still it feels lickable is one of my most recent decks, which is the Penumbra Tarot. This is the art by Eris Elizabeth. The colors are really rich and scrumptious, and sometimes I don't necessarily like always taste the colours, but I want to lick them. Does that make sense? Is that weird? It is a bit weird. I'm sure there's at least some other people out there that can relate, right? Someone? Anyone? I love this goat? I don't know. What the hell? But yeah, I've only just filmed an unboxing and walkthrough of this, so I am very excited to get working with this. But I was filming it and just talking through it and just being like, oh, these colours are so delicious. Lots of purples and greens, which are like my two favourite colours. They're just really, just like, I don't know how to describe it, but I just want to like lick it. I don't lick my decks. Let me be clear. But I want to. So that's one of my delights. I love this like foil stamped back. That's one of my delights. Another one, oh, fuck me. Chaos. Yeah, is lickable colours. Surprising, again, absolutely bloody no one. Other decks that I really enjoy, Marseille and Pip decks. I have quite a collection building, as I've been this year reading Marseille decks for this August, September, 6 years. What? 6? Where does time go? I remember when I first started and I was like, oh my god, I've been reading regular tarot for so long, I never feel like I'm going to get like Marseille under my belt. Oh, how times have changed. This is, again, Charlie Claire Burgess's work making an appearance, because their work is awesome, is the Gay Marseille. This is like my current jam when it comes to a Marseille. This, and then I've got the pocket, like the wee Marseille Pondre Vie. That rhymes. But that is downstairs because that's like that goes in my bag because it's so small. It's great for, I can even chuck it in my bum bag. I would like the full size eventually at some point, because I feel like I want to be able to work with it, like just have one to go and one to keep at home, like by my altar, and also because it'd be nice to see the artwork bigger. Oh, to have infinite funds. But yeah, this is such a fun, playful, important sort of queer history, queer living experience. Marseille, it's so clever, the way their arabesques are done. I just love me a Marseille, and this one is, I just can't with it. It's so good. I mean, the Sapphic pool party alone for the moon is just too much fun. So yeah, this is my, like, this has been like my go-to, like when I'm up here in my bedroom / workspace. and I love me that. And again, we got the inclusion and diversity, both in this and the Marseille Point de Vue by Auntie K. And those decks, this and the Point de Vue, were created specifically to break out of the traditional Marseille and make it more sort of representative, right, of all people, not just cishet white people. And another pip deck, Taroki by Mr. Freeborg. Oh, this like so different to the game Marseille, right? Like the chalk and cheese in that sense. Beautiful Delft blue china type backs, based on the Italian system. A lot of Italian decks, maybe Vachetta, Soprafino, I can't remember, there's some others possibly. But with a twist, because you've got the skulls as faces. There's that like slight humor to it, right? I love, you know, make dark but make it poke fun at it, you know. It's poking fun at ourselves, poking fun at life. And that doesn't mean, as I know I've spoken about before, like it doesn't mean that you can't take life seriously. I think that actually it helps you cope with the serious stuff in life. I mean, this deck is beautiful. I love me a pip deck. I even like really pared back pips even. Oh my god, I'm wrecking my background. What am I doing? Oh my god, a pigeon nearly flew in the fucking window. Did you hear that? I had the window wide open and a pigeon, oh god, I thought it was going to fly in. It's gone. That would have been dramatic. Feathers everywhere. Let me just quickly grab, I wasn't planning to show this, but okay. The Kawaii tarot. By, oh, what's her name? Something Lorenzo? I can't. Oh, no, Lopez? Diana Lopez? I can't remember. I apologise. My God, my memory. It's terrible. I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, this is really pared back. Like, it's super minimal. I do think that the court cards, you know, there's nothing, if you take this away, there's nothing about this that says Knight of Cups, you know, like even if you take the shield away to denote Knight, does that, you know, that could be a King of Swords for all we know. I mean, he's smiling, which makes it more likely to be the cups than swords, maybe. But you know what I mean. But yeah, I really like, you know, obviously with Marseille you get all the arabesques and the arrangement, and a bit with the Italians you get a bit more stuff going on in the pip cards. But I've gotten to the point where I can happily, you know, go with this and it be perfectly readable for me. I really enjoy this deck actually. This is the mass market version. It's very affordable. It does have a print mistake on the one of the wands cards, but I think it's the 9 of wands. It has like 8 instead of 9. I don't know if they've corrected that. Let me know, anyone know if that's been corrected. I quite like having the misprinted one. Because I mean, it becomes more valuable. I mean, what is valuable really? The more I sort of realise that everything's going to hell in a handbasket, it's not going to really make any fucking. It doesn't matter what these cards were once worth, let's be honest. We have much more serious things to be worrying about, like food scarcity and floods. I don't know. Wow, this is a cheery video. This is where I'm at mentally. I sort of vacillate between sort of feeling hopeful and a little playful, and then sort of just being like, oh God, everything is awful, because I can't ignore it. It's always there. So I'm ultimately just always trying to distract myself from it for a while before it creeps back in, and then I have to, like, you know, write to my MP or something, or donate to a cause. Right, and then a couple more things that are sort of, they're not about the actual decks themselves, but the things around the deck. So one of them is a really good guidebook. And when I say a really good guidebook, I'm not talking about a guidebook that goes with a deck that you would buy separately. So an example of that would be the game Marseille. Charlie has written a chunky book that you can buy separately, which I 100% recommend, even if you don't have the game Marseille, just for reading Marseille. on its own, absolutely, just chef's kiss, really, really bloody good. Another example would probably be the Complete Guide to the Tarot Illuminati by Kim Huggins. Really great book, but you buy them separately. You know, I'm talking about books that come with decks, but they're not little white books, they're like more substantial. So I have one for an oracle and one for a tarot. So the tarot one I have is the True Heart Intuitive Tarot, written by Rachel True of The Craft fame. Yeah, as you can see, this is a fairly well, where's my yellow bits? I had highlighted this much less than I thought I was. Oh, I'm probably, you know what I'm thinking of? Another deck book that I use all the time, which is the Numinous Tarot. But yeah, so this is a really great, just, it is useful regardless of whether you are reading. Obviously, if you have this book, you have the True Heart Intuitive Tarot, because it comes with it. But what I mean is this works for other like readings. It's a really good sort of juicy book. It's got a bit of everything in there regarding, like, you know, the tarot just generally, and readings and what have you, numerology and things. And then like you get really decent chunk of information about the majors, as you often do. The majors get the most attention, and then let's go to the minors. So you get less with the minors, but I feel like it really packs a punch. So you get like a depiction of the card, and then you get like high vibe, low vibe, which is, I guess, like positive, negative, or upright and reversed, whatever way you want to put it, or however you read. And then you've got like a decent bit of information about how to read it, but also how to read it if it is, you know, a little bit is each bit is expanded on. I would like to see books pay more attention to the minors, because they do make up the bulk of the deck, and I feel like they get shortchanged a lot of the time, and they're just as intense and can be just as intense and important as a major. I think calling them the majors and the minors sort of does make us really separate them out, but I feel like maybe they should be called, they sometimes get called what's his name, Crowley, I think he sometimes calls them the lesser and the greater arcana. I think calling them the pip cards and the trumps, or the triumphs as you would in a Marseille, maybe makes it less sounds such a divide. But yeah, I do think, and I understand, right, because writing an intense amount for each of the minor arcana, it's a lot of work, right? But yeah, I do feel they get shortchanged. Not in this woman's book, though. This is Monica Bodersky, her Shadowlands Tarot. You get a good, decent amount of information for all the cards, as well as journal prompts. But I thought I would show the Between the Worlds book. This is a really good example of an oracle deck that kind of has a system-ish. In a way, it has a system, but also doesn't. So it's like, it's quite flexible, but there's information there for you to really get stuck in with it. And I just think it's so juicy. So, you know, you get everything you need. You get a color picture, you get the number, you get the name of it, you get a couple of keywords, you get a little story about the item, like a little something about the author's life or about something that happened. You get a description, like information about the item, about where Monica found it. You then get a message, and then you get upright and reversed advice on top of the message, and then you get bloody journal prompts for every single mother fluffing card. I mean, the woman is a powerhouse. I still want to get her latest deck, her latest tarot. She's just, I haven't met a Monica Bodersky book that I did not absolutely love. And yeah, you've got spreads in the back and everything as well. You know, I'm not saying that this book is without its issues. I do sometimes find that there's a lot of assumptions being made, and the messages are sometimes hard to sort of pass out and apply to certain kinds of readings. But I mean, like, even here at the back, right, you've got stuff about spiritual hygiene. You've got stuff here about timing, wording questions, correspondences, things about combinations, like seasons. Oh my god, just so much. Look at this. So good. Weather, numerology, astrology, like just a bunch of correspondence stuff. You know, how to collect your own journals, journal keeping, your own items, sorry, keeping a journal, and then you got spreads, like absolutely for us. It's absolutely jam-packed. Anyway, I'm waxing lyrical. It's because it's so good. And then the final thing that delights me is good packaging, and I have two very specific types of packaging that I really enjoy. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to make one of my pouches for my deck. I'm really behind on that because just these things take time, and I have a lot of decks, so a lot of them are still in their tuck boxes, but my plan is to eventually put them all into my own pouches. Or they're like big boxes with the book and everything, like the Zeke's Arcana is still in its big box with the book. But you know, my favorite kind of packaging is very specifically clamshell boxes that have magnetic closures. Boop. Especially if the deck and the book are the same size and fit into it together. Just makes me so satisfied. Like, you know, it's really frustrating when I get, you know, the Zeke's Arcana is a good example. Like the deck is this size and then you get a big box because the book is this size. And I get it, right? You can't have chunky little books all the time. And you know, sometimes you'll get a deck like the Fifth Spirit Tarot, for example, where the book is chunky and fits in with the deck, but it's a 2-part and it's not as satisfying. You know, I want the little so this is the Tarot Serene by Wandering Oracle. Conversely, if it's not coming in that, I love a tin moment. I mean, this book is ridiculous, but I do have the original size of this, so I do have this book in larger, so I don't have to fuck with this. But I'm seeing poor folks that have bought the mini version struggling. Like, yeah, like same. Like I really, yeah, no. If I'm traveling with it, fine, but otherwise I'm gonna pull the larger size. But yeah, this is so satisfying because it's round. And because the cards are round. You know, like I said, I've already mentioned the US Games ones, but the Wild Unknown ones are really tickling my pickle because, you know, you've got the chunky, hang on, let me grab one. Hang on a minute. Where's the lid? You see what I mean? Like, it's chunky. It's proper chunky. Right, let me grab a US Games one. Okay, so like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to kick this one out of bed for eating crackers with the like tin wise, but like this, it's a little shorter, and it's like chunkier, and it's like fucking holographic. So like, there's just something satisfying about it, and it's probably just because it's sort of novel, because I'm so used to these kind of ones. And then again, they've done it again because this is a round deck, it's a round tin, and I just love it. I just love it. Anyway, oh shit, bollocks, hang on. So now we need to go on to the negative side. Even though I've had some ranting during this section, we're gonna go on to my deterrents, my deck deterrents. So hang on in there. Okay, so deterrents. I don't necessarily have great examples to show of all of these because they're things that annoy me, and therefore I don't always buy decks that have these things. But for tarot and just sort of cartomancy in general being a very tactile thing, you know, we are shuffling the cards, we are dealing them out, you know, it's a touchy feely kind of thing, right? I like the cards to be a good tactile experience, and you know, a bad tactile experience can really put me off the deck. Not always, like I said with the Fifth Spirit Tarot, it's a little thick, too chunky, but I still work with it because ultimately everything else over. Oh my god, the neighbors are drilling. I'm gonna have to close the window despite it being hotter than Satan's ass crack. Hold on. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, like everything else, the artwork and everything, the whole ethos behind the Fifth Spirit, the book, everything, it just overrides the not great card stock. And it's not the worst card stock. There is worse card stock in my collection. But yeah, like the tactile experience, whether that is the card stock itself just not feeling very nice, and it could be glossy, it could be matte, it could be, it doesn't matter what kind of cardstock it is. There are not very nice feeling versions of cardstock in all types. I've even had like my hands on some linen cardstock that I didn't quite like the hand feel of, you know. So it's really tricky, right? I understand that it can be really hard for deck creators or publishers to like work out, and you're never going to please everyone at all times because everyone has different preferences. So I say I don't have a preference for cardstock, like whether it is glossy or whether it's matte or satin or linen. You can get good and bad versions of all of those. The thing that I really hate though is the, not the fucking like cereal box type cardboard feel. This is the Inner Eye Oracle by Stephen Bright. Great deck, terrible. Like even just feeling it is it's a sensory nightmare for me. Like I really dislike touching these cards. It's real like cardboardy, and I'm like, they've done my boy Stephen dirty with this. Like, put it on better cardstock. It's a really good deck, really good system. Another thing it also showcases is like you know, when the cardstock is kind of it kind of hurts, like it's like harsh cardstock. Not only does it feel not very nice, just the surface, but like when the edges of it just feel very ugh. And then that's always compounded by like foiling. So a recent to my collection, which a deck that is very nice, very new to me, which I've just previously spoken about in the delights when it comes to lickable colors, but like falls down a little bit for me on the foiling, because it's quite harsh foiling, and I can already tell that it's going to feel quite uncomfortable to shuffle. It already is a little uncomfortable to shuffle. And if it was more of a sort of standard, it's a little taller and a little wider than a standard sized sort of Smithwaite, for example. And therefore, if it was more of a standard size, it would be a little easier on the hands despite the foiling, but because it's that bit bigger. And I'm aware that this is also an issue because I have small hands. If you have larger hands, that might not be an issue for you. But I find it just like really cuts in, like this kind of foiling. I don't mind so much that it sort of scuffs off. You know, I've got some decks that have foiled and are scuffed and it's fine. Some of them I'm like, I swear witchcraft was used in foiling them, because I've had them for years and the foiling has somehow, it's scuffed, but nowhere near as much as you'd think. Sasurobito Tarot, I'm looking at you. What magic is that? Another thing that irritates me, deters me from a deck, especially if it is a contemporary deck, right, is lack of diversity inclusion. So we're looking at the flip side, and the reason it, you know, obviously I don't have to buy these decks, and I don't for the most part, is because firstly, folks, it's 2024, right? Like, can we just sort of, even if it's a themed deck or a historical deck, yeah, like, you know, say someone did like a historical London deck. People of colour have existed in London since fucking day dot. London was created by, you know, the Romans, and all sorts of people came through here of all stripes. So, you know, even in Victorian London, there's been this whole pushback against, you know, there's people that complain when you see people of colour in period dramas. Yeah, well, people of colour existed, like, get over it, you know. And I think that even if that's the case and you're trying to make it historically accurate, just make it diverse. I just don't, and you know, like when it's like fantasy or themed decks and they're like, this is based on medieval fantasy, and it's like, oh, so your medieval fantasy just includes all cis, skinny, white, beautiful people. Like, it's just so unimaginative. And this was a thing that irritated me a little bit when it comes to like body diversity in the, not a little bit, quite a lot, but in the Zeke's Arcana Tarot, because, you know, it's a fantasy deck, right? And it's quite surreal, but all of the bodies are slim and very beautiful, right, in a conventional sense. And people have said to me, oh, but it's a fantasy deck. And I'm like, what you're saying when you say that is that in your fantasy, larger bodies don't exist, you know, disabled bodies don't exist. You know what I mean? Like, can you hear yourself? So for me, yeah, like all white decks just wind me up. So I remember getting this, the Happy Tarot. I was so excited to get it because it's so cute. It's a cute deck that does not shy away from, you know, the darker cards. It's pretty much a clone, but make it cute. But like every single character in this entire deck is white, and I'm like, but why though? I don't, like, what? like, I feel like this says more about the artist than anything else. And the, like, Low Scarabaeo is so guilty of this. They are probably, like, for me, like, the least diverse when it comes to their decks. They're least inclusive, and it winds me the fuck up, because we have, like, decks being put out, created, painted, printed, like, published in, like, you know, the 2020s, that are like just all skinny, and it's not just about all white people. It's like they're all skinny, they're all cis, they're all het, and they're all white, and they're all like, it's just like it's the not the triumvirate, the quadrumvirate of, like, just, there's no, like, it's just, I feel like we've moved on, but not only are we, it just doesn't speak to our times. And I'm not saying that artists shouldn't create work that doesn't speak to them or speak to their experience, but I just find it weird, because I see some people going, oh, well, I live in a country or in a community, and I only ever really see white people. And I'm like, great, but if you want your deck to have, like, global appeal, maybe have some people of the global majority in it, like, at least, and not in a tokenizing way. It's a tricky one, because it's really, like, it causes a lot of consternation in the community, because, you know, people are like, well, you can't make artists do something they don't want to do. Yeah, fair, but I would ask artists, if they are making a deck, to really think about who and what they're including and excluding and why, and to really try to push themselves beyond those. Maybe, you know, I've seen artists go, well, I don't know how to draw people of colour or paint people of colour, and I don't want to be. It's like, well, maybe spend some time working on that. You get to expand your skills, and you get to then, like, include people in that artwork. I don't know. It's very telling. Another deck, which I know is going to piss me off to some extent, and I haven't even opened it because it only arrived a couple of days ago, and I haven't had a chance to open it and film an unboxing, is this bad boy, Tarot of the Vampires by Ian Daniels. This is going out of print, or is out of print. I managed to get a decent priced new copy. I got the very last copy on the website that was selling it, which was very jammy. And I know for a fact this is very much skinny, pretty, het, white vampires for the most part. I'm not, I know that there might be, I don't know. For the most part, it's pretty much just white and skinny and pretty. And I'm like, it's a very specific kind of gothic artwork, but why can we not depict more inclusive art and, you know, more inclusive, have more inclusive decks in this art? Do you see what I mean? Like, it's like the period drama thing. So it just really winds me up. A really good example of a vampire deck that is a bit more inclusive and diverse when it comes to, like, queer representation and, you know, people of different skin colors and things, is the Le Vampire Tarot Interdit, although everyone is still very pretty and very skinny, so it only goes like half of the way for me. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox, but only for a little while, because I'll be jumping right back on it in a wee bit. Next thing, backs of decks where they use a piece of artwork in the deck as the back. First of all, you've already made, like, what, if it's a tarot deck, at least 78 cards. Just stretch it to 79 and make a back. I also don't like I don't like when they put the name of the deck on the back, like, or like initial, like, just for the most part. The only one that I don't mind is the Polish tarot, because they've sort of stylized it. It looks like a little, like, sigil or something. It doesn't bother me. But, like, oh my God. And these two decks I'm going to show you, I still love, right? Don't get me wrong. But they wind me up. And I know that the later edition of this one I'm about to show you, which is the Melanated Classic Tarot, which I really, really enjoy as a deck. This is their 8 of Wands, right? But this is the back. Do you feel me? Like, like, obviously we had the Roman numerals, but, like, I've been caught out a few times on this one, right? And I'm like, and I know that later editions have a different back, because they listen to feedback and they did change it. So, but I have this one, and again, I do, like, consider, like, backing it, but I've kind of sort of just made my peace with it at this point, because honestly I can't be fucking asked to back it. Okay, other deterrents. Overly esoteric decks, and I don't really have decks to show you, because they just sort of, I just can't be asked with them. I'm very much of that. I really love the sort of exoteric style of tarot reading for the most part for day to day. Don't get me wrong, I like a sprinkling of esotericism, but we have to be very careful what we're pulling from and the history of that, right? you know, with regards to like the Golden Dawn and appropriation and even further back than that. But you know, and people do have a tendency to just like layer like fucking everything onto the tarot. It's so burdened, which I think is why I fell so hard for Marseille, because it really it just cuts straight through the bullshit and just gets to what you want to talk about. So of course, my beloved Thoth. I mean, even the back, if you hear like Lon Milo Duquette, for example, talk about everything that is hidden in just the back of this card, this deck, this cross. There's so much information to be interpreted within everything here with the colours and everything. It's fascinating, but also it's a lot. And sometimes, and this is the thing, I use different tarot decks for different kinds of readings, I've realised. So, you know, I'm more inclined to use Marseille for just like down and dirty, I just want to get to the point. Sometimes I want something a bit more sort of philosophical. Sometimes I want something a bit more esoteric, but I don't want too much. So obviously, like, this is still based on the same system that the Smith Waite is based on, but it's coming at it from a different approach. And, you know, Crowley really rode Harris hard on like, and made her change a lot of stuff. Like, it was a real intense process. I mean, she willingly undertook it, and she was the one that controlled him into doing it. Actually, What Magic Is This? Douglas Batchelor's podcast, his latest episode, he's talking to Lon Milo Duquette about the Thoth. So that's a good listen. I've only listened to half of it, but I have also read Lon Milo's book about the Thoth. So there's like, he sort of covers a lot of stuff that's already in that book. But he's just fun to listen to, so it's really worth a listen. I do need to finish listening to that next week. Oh, just a bit of my iced coffee before it just completely, the ice is all melted. But yeah, there's a lot hidden in here. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, there's all sorts of stuff to do with astrology and things that I don't necessarily feel comfortable, because I don't feel like it's my lane, like Kabbalah and stuff like that in there. It's just because I feel like it's a lot to learn, and maybe like I just don't have the inclination, you know, like there's a tarot like these, and they look really fucking cool, like the Tarot of the Holy Light, for example, the Tabula Mundi, which is like sort of based off the Thoth. They look fucking cool because they're so layered with stuff, but when it comes down to like brass tacks, a lot of the time I just want to like quick and dirty. I like it quick and dirty. And I'm a nerd. I love researching. As Sylvie says, researching is a hobby. Researching is definitely a hobby for my little neurodivergent brain. But I don't know, I just feel there's only so much that I can learn with tarot, and at the moment at least I'm still very much in a learning about Marseille and expanding on that and things. Other things that annoy me, whacking great boxes. I just put this here to remind me about big boxes. This is actually fine because it's the same size as the deck, and then the book fits perfectly on top, so it's not too much of an issue. Any of my really large annoying boxes are in the attic because they're large and annoying boxes and they take up way too much space. Llewellyn, I'm looking at you. I mean, their deck book boxes are way better than they used to be. You know, like those of you that remember, like the ones from 20-25 years ago, probably less time than that, like maybe 10-15, I don't know. I don't have that many Llewellyn decks, surprisingly. Especially like the ones from back in the day where it was like a giant tuck box. It was like a tuck box that was this size, and then it would have like a weird piece of cardboard in it that would then, you'd put the cards would be in there, and then the book, oh my god, and then like everything would rattle around. Oh my god, I hated them. And then because it's like a tuck box and it didn't have like the stability that they now have, or the magnetic thing, they would just get crumbled, like they would just get fucked. They can get fucked. They you know what I mean. They can get fucked because I hate them, but they would get fucked up. And so many of them just died. Like loads of my like older decks just don't have their boxes because they died. Like this is one example. Actually, this, I think my original version came in a quite not very sturdy box and went by the way of the dodo a long time ago. Another thing that irritates me is useless books. Examples. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind a little white book. They can be very useful, especially for someone who's literally getting their first ever deck. They've got a deck with a little white book, and maybe they buy another book, like a workbook or a meanings book, or, you know, a workbook and a meanings book, whatever, right? Fine. You've got a jumping off point. What annoys me is when you get decks that have artwork that deviates from the system that they're based on. So let's just say Smithwaite, because that's what a lot of them are based on. And then the book, the little white book, doesn't even like fucking hint at that. So an example would be the Fae Tarot. I do have the separate book about the creation and all the artwork and the artist decisions and the designers, like the writer's decisions, but you have to buy that separately, right? And I also think that that's out of print. And it's just like, you could have just literally put a few sentences in. The Stretch Tarot, again, really great deck, created by a teenage boy at the time. I think he was like 16 or 17, bless him. And it's a pamphlet. I don't mind a fold out pamphlet. The problem is, it's just generic meanings, and the artwork can really sort of differ. Like, you get the idea when you're looking at the artwork, what they're saying in here, but it's also, I would have liked the artist to explain their choices. And I get it, right? Like, writing, if you're not a writer, I'm not a writer, it can be a ball ache, and it's a lot. It's 78 fucking cards, but I don't know, it just kind of winds me up. The one that wound me up more than anything ever, and I don't own this deck anymore, I gave it to Sandra over at Spirit of Avalon, because she was like, I'll have it off you, is the Modern Spellcasters Tarot. The book by Melanie Marquis, or Melanie Marquis, however you want to say it. Marquis in the French, I guess. Really pissed me off, because I really love the artwork in that deck. I think it's beautiful. Yes, the elements are swapped, and that was kind of like a bit of a sticking point for me, but the fact that the book makes zero reference to some really interesting, what could be juicy changes to the cards. I'm thinking of the Hanged Man, the Hanged One, with the runes and that character like sort of bound, like what was going on there, the decision with that sort of obsidian face on the High Priestess. I wanted to know what the artist was thinking. So I think if Melanie had like written that book, but then the artist, even like what's been done with the Penumbra Tarot, where Ethne has written the book, but Eris, who like designed and did the artwork, then does her little bit as well. But this is the thing, when you get like big publishing houses, they'll like pair up an artist and a writer, and it's like, I feel like sometimes it's like, did you two even have a fucking conversation? Like, you could, like, these books, like, it just wound me so much, it wound me up so much. And there was some other like scaremongering about cleansing your decks and demons and attachments. I was like, well, I need to pass this fucker on. So I hope that, Sandra, you are enjoying it if you're watching this. Anyway, other deterrents, last two deterrents, I'm getting there, I swear, this is a fucking long ass video. New Age and starseed stuff, miss me with that shit. I do not want anything. I'm not interested in like Rebecca Campbell, Danielle Noel, whatever, like that, like pastel, like white hippie new age Cali girl, like, oh my god, like, just no, like, I'm just like on a higher vibration. The like the spiritual it like feels very spiritual bypassing. Never mind like the fucking problematic literal like fascist roots of that. The history of that is like, I mean, well, obviously tarot itself is not without its problems, you know, it's got it's problematic written all over it, but like the new age, when you add the new age / starseed / indigo fucking children bullshit on top of it, and I know I'm probably upsetting some people with it, but I like, and it's I think people sort of glom onto it because it's like, oh, it's fluffy and it's light and it feels really positive, but there's a really dark side to that, in the sense that it can be very spiritually bypassing, it can be very toxic positivity, it can be very victim blaming-y, and then that's before you even get to you know, like I said, the very dark history with fascism on top of that. And that's, yeah, it's a lot, and that's before you even get to the whole like alien shit on, like, I just, yeah, miss me with that. And the final deterrent for me is AI. I'm sorry, I am an artist. I'm not against digital art. I'm not against, you know, I don't mind digital collage at this point. Like, it's an art form, but AI, it irks me, because it is literally stealing. There's that issue where it's drawing from lots of art, a database of all sort of artists' work without their permission. I mean, I guess I don't know enough about it, about like the different types of AI program systems. I know like Midjourney, and like that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. how they like get that information, how they scrape it. Then there's this like inherent bias where you see that it skews everything to like white cis het, and there's been people that have shown, like, given demonstrations of this in like videos and like Twitter posts and things like that. There's the ethical issue, and on top of that there's the environmental issue. It is really bad for the environment. The amount of energy it takes when you type in, or I don't say you, like when someone types in just a single prompt in into AI to create a piece of art, uses up so much energy. It is the equivalent of throwing like a small bottle of water on the ground and wasting it. Like and we're at a point now where AI is like draining the grid so much, like in the States, you know, I saw lots of posts about it and articles going around in the last few weeks about how it's draining the grid, AI. And it's a real problem with like the servers and the energy to run it and the water that it wastes, just even from an environment, before you even get to the ethical thing to do with like artists. It's the environmental impact on its own. Like, we cannot be having overloaded grids as we're walking into a climate catastrophe, where just to make fucking pictures. And the thing with that, people go like, there's people that call themselves AI artists, but they are not trained in art. They don't paint or draw or do digital art or sculpt or anything. They've just like started making things within AI, and they don't realize that's putting in a command and it's spitting something out. And like, to me, it's like the fucking replicator in Star Trek. You're like, tea Earl Grey hot, that's what you're getting. Like, oh, I don't know, it just really winds me up. It negates all of the time and effort and patience it takes to learn a skill. People are like, well, I would never be able to draw like this, or I'd never be. Well, that's because people have taken the time to hone their craft, right? They have honed their craft. It's taking, and do you know what? The joy is in the progress. The joy is in the journey, and all you're getting is the like thing from the replicator at the end. And you like, I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off my fucking soapbox at this point, because this video is going to be so flipping long. I'll be surprised if anyone watches it, let alone makes it to the end. And now I sound really angry and irate because I've wound myself up. So let's take some deep breaths. Calm your tits. Calm your tits. My tits are nice and calm. Actually, my tits are sweaty and hot because the windows are closed. Anyway, this is a very long video. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I don't know, give yourself a pat on the back, or like go have like a biscuit or something. I don't know, because you deserve it. Let me know what you think. Have I ruffled feathers? I don't know. I'm just in a, I don't know, it's whatever. I'm just in that kind of mood, I think. I've seen so much awful stuff over the last, you know, just generally, I'm just, people going wah on the internet at me is like, okay, whatever. Yeah, that's all basically. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I hope that wherever you're watching this, you are safe and you are well. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.